Warm welcome, everybody. Karibuni, karibuni. Oh, lovely. I can see Ivy. Karibu sana. Can see some familiar people online. Elizabeth, welcome. Who else can I see? Eunice, karibuni. A warm welcome, all of you. Thank you very much for taking time to come, for this webinar. So we would like you to start us off by you telling us what is the emotion that you are currently feeling. What are you feeling? What is the emotion that you're currently feeling today, right now? I don't know if you know what an emotion is. Emotion is a state of being. Yeah. What are you feeling right now? I can see Ivy saying energetic, fantastic. Masha and Dorcas, you can help me with that.
Yeah. So Jean says she's apprehensive. I don't know why. Deborah is excited.
Who else?
Ivy is super happy to be here. I can see they're coming. Celestine is famished. Rose is tired.
Oh, but thank you, Rose, for joining us, irrespective of how you're feeling. Thank you. Yeah, we hope that it will be worth your while.
Oscar says he's curious.
Sorry?
Oscar says he's curious.
Fantastic. Oh, somebody's anxious.
That's Margaret.
Margaret says she's anxious.
Yes. Agnes is joyful.
Somebody's joyful. Fantastic. Any other emotions that you can see?
Yes, Elizabeth Gitonga says she's thankful for the opportunity to be here.
Yes.
We're happy to have you here, Elizabeth.
Warm welcome, Liz. I know she's been eager about learning this. So today you'll get to know about emotional intelligence. Karibu sana. Yeah, a warm welcome. So thank you very much, everybody who's joined us. I think we might have a quorum already. We're at 42, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think let's start. So thank you very much for taking this time to join us, and a very warm welcome to our speakers, as well as the great audience who have joined, who signed up and have shown up. Yeah, so we are very happy to host you today. So today we'll be looking at leading with emotional intelligence. Yeah, leading with emotional intelligence. And we might be wondering why we're doing this podcast. So this is the 6th podcast we're doing this year. And this is my gift at 50. So we're going to do a total of 12 podcasts, for my 50th Jubilee year. And we're very happy to be hosting you. I am hosting 12 podcasts on my pet subjects. So these are subjects that I enjoy talking about. So I think last time, for those who attended, we did a masterclass for ladies on how to live unapologetically assertive. And today we're going to look at how to lead with emotional intelligence. And why this is a very interesting topic for me is because having been in the HR space for a while now, almost 3 decades, I realized, especially when I was in the work context, that after managing people who are very brilliant, as well as good creatives, that there were certain people who still wouldn't make it up the career ladder. They would still struggle. And for me, after further research, I realized that there's a different kind of intelligence that is required other than your book smart intelligence. So you can be very book smart. You can be very technically competent with your work, but there's a certain intelligence. If you do not have it, you can actually ruin your career along the journey. And I found a lot of people who are brilliant tend to fall in that trap. And this is where now emotional intelligence comes in. So this is the intelligence we're going to talk about. And this is an intelligence that's not taught in school, but this is an intelligence that each one of us can learn. It's an intelligence that each one of us can learn. Yeah. And so that is my introduction to this topic and why it motivated me and why I even train it in all the some of the programs that I do, because I realized this is something that we were never taught, but it is something that's very crucial for us to be able to live a good life with other human beings, but more importantly, even to be able to maneuver and grow your career path. So with no further ado, I will go to my speakers. So karibu sana, my speakers. Today I have a man panel. Have you noticed, guys? Yeah, so I was accused of always bringing in ladies. So I promised that I will bring men. So we're gonna see how this is gonna go. Yeah. So karibuni sana. And so I would like each of the speakers, yeah, and this is over to you, the speakers, to start us off with a personal introduction. Just tell us your definition of what you think leading with emotional intelligence means to you. So I'll start off with Derek.
Great. Thank you, Pauline, and good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just sort of by way of quick introduction, I help professionals to be seen, to be heard, and to be remembered for the right reasons. So obviously being seen, being heard, how you communicate, how you present yourself, but that remembered is the emotional intelligence part. And let me tell you, that's the part that I love.
Fantastic.
And for me, that emotional intelligence is actually about being able, first of all, to understand the emotion that you're feeling. As I was watching people putting in what they are feeling coming into this session, they're feeling all kinds of things. That's number one. That's self-awareness. That's opening the door, is to recognize that feeling. Then once you have understood it, now you have to begin to manage it. So why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Why am I feeling curious? Why am I feeling, happy or whatever it is? And then the third portion in that is to act on that particular emotion. So it could be a strong emotion. Do I need to, we'll talk about this, of course, going into this session. What do I need to do to manage that strong feeling or to regulate perhaps a feeling that's the opposite of that? So that's my introduction and my understanding of emotional intelligence, my simple definition of emotional intelligence.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Agwint.
Yes, good evening, everybody. It's great to have you here. And many times we look at things from a mirror of circumstances. So as creatures of habits is how are you responding or reacting to your circumstances? So my role as a parent, as a professional, and as a financier, I look at everything from a perspective of context. Where are we? Where do you want to go? And how do we get there? But the bigger picture is what gives you purpose on a daily basis is a significant portion. So from a lens of emotional intelligence is how do I respond to my situation, my circumstances, to arrive at a destination of choice? And I always look at the things through a narrow path rather than a wider path, because through a narrow path is where you grow and that's where you get to the destination of choice. Because tonight, I'm looking forward to healthy discussions.
You haven't told us who you are.
So my name is Agwin Squierson. Sorry, I'm a coach. I'm a father. I'm a brother, and a good friend to many of the people. But most importantly, I also look after people's money when I'm not doing those other roles. I've been in the financial sector for over 33 years. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Agwit, for being here. Okay, over to you, Lucas.
Yeah. Thanks, Pauline. Agwin also didn't forget to tell you that he also drives a Subaru. We also have to add that on the CV. But anyway, Lucas Maranga is my name. Happy to be here, guys. So what do? I help people find and live meaningful lives. I consider myself a portfolio person. I'm a nature photographer, award-winning at that, if I may say so. A board member, love adding value from a board level in organizations that align with my values. A storyteller, I have a blog that's almost 10 years old that I just capture the challenges of the human spirit, a lot of which I came to realize revolved around emotional intelligence. Yeah. And lastly, I'm passionate about transition. So I'm a transition coach. And I think that's largely the heart I'll wear in this conversation today. For me, I think leading with emotional intelligence is leading with awareness of myself and awareness of others, which are two of the 6 competencies in emotional intelligence. You know, how do I feel internally? My thoughts and the thoughts of those around me, my environment around me. You know, like what are the vibes? What are the vibes I'm getting around me, and how then can I harness all of that for the common good? That is what I call leading with emotional intelligence. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, panelists, for those great definitions of emotional intelligence. And just FYI for everybody, these are all emotional intelligence coaches, yeah, who are in the panel. So please make sure you ask as many questions as possible. They'll be able to answer the questions. Yeah, and thank you. So the World Economic Forum, yeah, has listed emotional intelligence amongst one of the top skills of the future. Yeah, and LinkedIn workplace survey the other day also has consistently shown that emotional intelligence is now becoming one of the most in-demand skills across the world. Yeah. So what is the big fuss? Yeah, around emotional intelligence. Yeah, why this new focus on emotional intelligence? So I'll just give I'll give you an analogy, especially for the panel, especially for the people who've joined us. An analogy so that you can put it at the back of your mind what emotional intelligence is. So I'll give you an scenario that happened today. So today I went, I was getting something done. It was a while back. I was doing some color on my hair, and then I had chosen a particular color. And then the person puts the color on the hair. Then they tell me, okay, just sit there for 10 minutes, and then you come to the sink. But they put the color on the hair, and then they tell me, come in 1 minute. They quickly called me into the sink. And I was thinking, oh no, this is not happening to me. Not happening to me. Yeah, because she realized she had made a mistake. Can you imagine? So emotional intelligence was, if you do not have emotional intelligence, my reaction would have been, I would have, spoken loudly, asked her what is happening, and been in a panic. But what did I do? I just followed instructions, went to the sink, saw her frantically remove what she had put on my hair, yeah, and waited, and she did her switch, and I calmed down quietly. So emotional intelligence is when you're in a crisis, but you have every right to react, but you do not react. Are we together? Yeah, that's emotional intelligence. Yeah, it's where you realize something is happening, and it happens in every waking moment of your life. Yeah, where you could easily react, but you decide not to react. Yeah, that now you're no longer being controlled by the stimulus that is around you. The people around you don't control you. Do you understand? Yeah, because when you're younger as a child, the first thing you do is you react. Yeah, but when you have emotional intelligence, is how do you manage to put that gap between the event and your reaction? Are we together? When you have gotten that control, that's when you have gotten emotional intelligence. So I just want you to have that at the back of your mind, because that's the kind of muscle we have to grow in ourselves. So I'll go back to the panelists. Yeah, so what is the fuss around emotional intelligence? Yeah, why the new focus on emotional intelligence, and why do we need to learn how to master this skill? Over to you, Derek.
You know, when I was growing up, I loved the superhero genre. I still do. I love superhero movies. I wanted to have a superpower when I was young. And even now, with all of this hair turned this color, I still love movies. And my favorite superhero is Superman. Now, Superman comes from another planet. And he came down to Earth. Obviously, I won't go into the full story. But living here amongst humans, he has two identities. He is a mild-mannered reporter called Clark Kent. And then when he has to use his superpowers, flying, invisibility, he is Superman as we know him. That ability to adjust as a creature from another planet, but the ability to live amongst us as a human being with all of the the peculiarities that human beings have, to me, is Superman exhibiting emotional intelligence. Because he could get angry, for example, if he goes to the hairdresser and they mess up his head, and using his superpowers, he could obliterate that particular person. But he uses his superpower for good, to fight evil and promote good. Now, I use that story to illustrate that we as leaders, we are like these superheroes or Superman in this particular case. Or maybe we're leading a particular team, or we're in charge of a particular department, or even we're working with our target market, our customers, our vendors. And we are constantly being given this data, which is what the emotions are, based on how these people behave. They let us down. They will not pay. Believe me, this year has been my year of chasing payments. And you know what that's like, or working with your team and they drop the ball and they don't do anything. So this superpower, I'm going to call it this superpower of emotional intelligence, is how, in fact, we have to lead our teams. Leaders are not judged necessarily on what they achieve, but how they lead their teams, how they inspire the people that they work with to do great things, to motivate them, to mentor them, to prepare them for the next rung in leadership, to help them, to empathize with them. All of these wonderful terms that we use in emotional intelligence. That to me is what leadership is, and why emotional intelligence, particularly for leaders, is not a nice to have. It's not a fuss, Pauline. It is a must have. Ni lazima. You have to put that in your invisible briefcase or bag that you are carrying, or your invisible cloak. Let me use another superhero analogy for you to use when you are carrying out those super feats of managing teams and dealing with your target market.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I really like that superpower. Yeah, an invisible cloak. Yeah, very important. Yeah, every leader needs to nurture their emotional intelligence. Yeah, okay. Lucas, you'd like to go? What's the fuss about emotional intelligence?
Yeah, as I was thinking about this when you asked that question, Pauline, I think I'm seeing emotional intelligence as the counter for artificial intelligence. In my own simple way of looking at it. I mean, there's this AI buzz, ChatGPT, everything AI. But I feel emotional intelligence cannot be automated. Yeah. People's feelings, perceptions, thoughts, decisions, they can be influenced by AI, but cannot be replaced by AI. That's my personal belief. So I think as AI grows and we are in machine learning and all of that, emotional intelligence has come to the rescue of humanity, when I put it that way, and that, yes, let's do all those things. I mean, before I type a story, the other day I ChatGPT'd my about LinkedIn, thanks to something Derek put out there. What does ChatGPT say about me? So I took that test and did something. But still, there is still intelligence that AI cannot and shall not be able to replicate. So I think it's like as AI grows, emotional intelligence, or AI as I call it, grow. The other thing why we need to learn and master it is because we've always been in this VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Now, I think since COVID, we are in what I came across as the bunny world. E for brittle, A for anxious, N for non-near, and I for incomprehensible. Brittle. The world is highly anxious. It's non-linear. Nothing makes sense anymore, and we can't comprehend what is around the corner. So even the more the need to have this emotional intelligence, and the higher emotionally intelligent we are, the more adaptive we become to this brittle or this bunny world. So I think that's what the first is. As AI is shouting out there, I think emotional intelligence is reminding us, hey guys, we are still human with blood in our veins. Yeah, not cable. Yeah.
Yes. So I like that. I really like that. That emotional intelligence is becoming more important in this world that is becoming more automated. Yeah. So I think, as you've said, emotional intelligence is what reminds us that we are more human. We are first human before we become too automated. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is the reason why. Yeah, one of the reasons why it's come up. Thank you. Thank you for that, Lucas. Agwins, you have any views on that?
Yeah, so great insights. And every day when you sit in a lounge or any particular place where a group of people are, they're not talking to each other. They are talking or chatting on their phones. And you wonder, the art of communication is deteriorating so fast, and the level of connection is also going downhill extremely fast. And I'm wondering, at this rate, we'll be able to communicate, we'll be able to collaborate, we'll be able to connect. So every day we spend more time on our gadgets, we're losing the art of being human. And that also has a great impact as a leader, because as a leader, you have to influence. That's the key thing. You have to be able to influence the people that work with you or work for you to drive to a strategic outcome. And if you can't influence, then that's a big problem. And what emotional intelligence brings into the picture is being able to respond and provide an environment whereby you lead people through collaboration, through inspiration, through internal motivation, which then is emotional intelligence in short. So if you look at all great companies, leaders don't shout, they're not abrasive. They're people who are empathetic, who are with you at every moment and challenge you to become more. And that's a fundamental difference between a great leader and any leader. If you lack emotional intelligence, then you are dealing with the back in the days whereby, you mind the Indian shop where every discussion is a shouting match, or then you have a big problem leading to today's generation, especially when collaboration is a key factor to drive influence and a great outcome. So without it, you're dead.
Yes. Yeah. And it just tells us that every human being wants to be seen, isn't it? Irrespective of whichever level they are, they need to feel and they need to know that you see them. Yeah. So in your everyday interaction, yeah, you can't be looking first at what they have produced for you. First, you need to see them first as individuals. In HR, I always used to tell people in my team that for you to succeed as a HR practitioner or as a leader, yeah, the first key thing is to first see the person. Yeah, if you take care of me as the individual, I can give you anything and everything that you want. Same thing for all leaders. If you want your team members to be able to give you the work or to meet the targets that you've given them, you first have to see them as human beings. So that human being is the one. If their child is sick, they cannot come and focus in the office, and for you to expect them to deliver. You understand? So are you able to see people first? Are you able to see them as human beings first before you start demanding for the extra? So performance actually comes after you have seen them as human beings. Thank you for that, Agwitz.
Hey, Pauline, and sort of, let me chime in. And it's not just seen, it is validated. That's what,
yes,
validation. You know the most powerful word in the English language? 2 syllables. Thank you. That's it. Just tell them thank you.
Yeah.
And you'll see
Fantastic.
the fortune. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. So it's that day-to-day interaction. So it's not something that's really off out there that you don't have that you don't have capacity to do. We all have that capacity. But the key thing is to acknowledge people, for what they are bringing to the table, how they are bringing it. And you don't wait, you do it immediately so that you're able to actually even reinforce it. Okay, so thank you very much for those answers. And I want to kind of move the conversation slightly into a controversial area. Yeah. So there's always this thing, and I want you to also look back for yourself. I want you to go back to secondary school, and even university. The people who always used to be at the top, the index one, where are they right now? Ask yourself, Majority of the people who actually tend to be the A students, tend to disappear to somewhere. I don't know where they go. I think they're all in Silicon Valley. I don't know if they're all in Silicon Valley. But the thing is, the A students, and actually there's a research that has been done in Harvard, and even there are books that have been written about how the A students tend to work eventually for the B and the C students. Have you, anyone who's come across that? Yeah. And the reason for that is that there's been a big shift from just IQ to people who have, yes, they might have average IQ, but they have something extra. And that extra is what? That emotional intelligence. And so I want to introduce you to other intelligences, and which I have written in my book. If for those of you who haven't read my book, I can refer you, go to the book. I can do that plug. It's my webinar. But I want to introduce you guys to something called, there are different intelligences. So there's the IQ, and there's the emotional intelligence. And there's something called social quotient, and there's adaptability quotient. And I want us to differentiate these intelligences because they will come into play and they're actually interconnected. So I want to ask this question to Derek. I would like you to differentiate those intelligences for us and talk about how they combine with this superpower, emotional intelligence, to propel us further ahead in life.
All right, I'm going to give this my best shot. So,
I'm
going to borrow from Jack Ma, the successful entrepreneur from China. He's still alive, isn't he? You know, the Chinese don't.
Yes.
So he's still around, but I think they've clipped his wings. So Jack Ma was speaking actually at the World Economic Forum that you alluded to earlier, and he mentioned 3 Qs. So he mentioned the first one, which is IQ, which is obviously intelligence quotient. And in fact, he said, if you don't want to lose quickly, then you as a leader, your team needs to have IQ, which is the technical aspects of the job. They even say the academic credentials or qualifications, all right? That's what gets you through the door. Then he talks about a second one, which he calls LQ. And that LQ is the quotient of love, which is where I'm going to put your SQ and your AQ. And he says, if you do not lead your teams with love, and with love, we're talking about empathy. We're talking about here being authentic. So, for example, you are struggling as a leader. You tell your team, I need your help. We're talking about things like being able to recognize when somebody else in your team is struggling, or they're having a hard day, or they've lost a loved one, and you allow them the day off. So he talks about that thing, the LQ, and I'm going to put the AQ, which is the adaptability quotient, a lot of Qs here, and the SQ, which is the social quotient. And then, of course, he talks about the EQ, which is what this session is all about. It's about that emotional intelligence. And it's about, if I'm to use the Genos model of, first of all, being self-aware, so that you're aware of what you're feeling at any given time, or at least being able to put yourself in a position, even in the heat of battle, to be able to recognize, I am feeling this particular emotion. This person has triggered me. This event has made me feel a particular way. Then we talk about now, what are the strategies that you use to manage them? So those 3 Qs: IQ, you definitely need that for the technical aspects of your job. LQ, which is the Q of love, which is being able to adapt under different circumstances. It's about having that social quotient, which is about being empathetic and really leading your teams with leading your teams with empathy. And then EQ, which is the emotional intelligence aspect, or the emotional quotient, which is being self-aware, being aware of the emotions that your team, or indeed your target market, might be going through.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes. So thank you very much. So remember the comment I gave much earlier? We're asking where the number ones, the index ones in your class went. Yeah. So the thing is, and this is my theory, and maybe if somebody else has a different opinion, you can share. But it's said that the people who focused a lot on their books, they kind of forgot to develop their SQ. Yeah, and SQ is your relational skills. Yeah, so a lot of people, and I'm sure you think about the people who are very smart. They focus more on their books, yeah, and how to pass the exams, and took very little time to develop relationships. Yeah, and social skills and relationship building is also a key skill that is required, yeah, which is part of emotional intelligence. Yeah, and even the ability to maintain those relationships is also another skill. Yeah, and so it is said that the A students, yeah, focused on the IQ and forgot about building the other intelligences. And so that's why the B and the C's, them, they had a lot of time to socialize as they were getting into trouble. This is on a light note. Yeah, as they were getting into trouble. But they socialized and they built their SQ, and they were able to build their relational skills, yeah, the SQs and the AQ, and eventually those are the skills that you require later in life. Because the thing is, even as you get into your career and even as you get into entrepreneurship, the ability for you to be able to even maneuver your career, you need other people. Yeah, you need other people. So you have to be able to develop relationships. You have to be able to nurture those relationships. And this is a skill that we all have to learn. Yeah, so that you can have those, the total balance of all those intelligences. So thank you, Derek, for that. So for you, Agwins, and I know you're the one next. So you're the one to just give me a view of the same analogy that I've used, yeah, of the A students and the B and C students. What is your view?
Many times in life is what we choose to be or choose to lean on defines how we do things and who we become. When we look at our A students, they have a self-belief that they're extremely bright, and for lack of a better word, they condescend those who are average or those who are not at their level. So they expect respect, awe, and short of worshipping. So many times they don't develop that skill, as you say, to drive the agenda. So what they think they do or what they think they know is a limiting belief, because then they don't learn what they don't know, which is then the social skill. So many times then when you find that when you get the B or C student who is versatile and who has got that emotional connection, there's a natural attraction to them. So the fact they're understanding, they're sympathetic, and they're more resilient, because the A student that is actually, for lack of better words, inflexible. So failure, they don't know how to handle failure very well. And in life, and I've been a great leader, failing is part of the resilience of an individual, which transform into a villain of your team, which transform to the outcome of performance of our organization. So high performance is not driven by one great result after the other, but many points of failure where you learn, adapt, and change course. Because in life, change is constant, and being able to respond to failure or respond to change gives the diversity to move forward in a more strategic way. Because every point you have is a data point to make better decisions. And that's where the A student has a bigger problem, because then if they don't succeed, then the emotion that they express is frustration, it leads to depression, it leads into a point whereby they get stuck in a deep rut where they can't come out. And that's why you find, even for lack of a better word, the suicide rates of A students is much higher than those who are a lower grade. But nonetheless, when they're doing well and when they are actually, so the B student is able to tap into that IQ or competence and use it strategically to make better decisions, because then it derives clear answers or response to the situation that you find. So to move to greatness as a B student, being able to have an emotional connection means you collaborate better. And you collaborate better, you have a high performance culture. So all this combined then gives you an outcome that you desire. And that's what the B student has against the A student.
And they have also compassion, and empathy for the C and the D.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they can be able to put everyone in a
so
mountain.
You find many, So
Go ahead. Agwitz? You can finish, Agwitz.
So saying it is, so the level of emotional reasoning from a perspective of the B student is at the all-time high compared to the A student, because empathy and compassion then has a psychological safe environment whereby your team can then thrive because they feel wanted, they feel respected, and they feel part of the organization, which then drives you faster forward to achieve the strategic outcome that you desire. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I like that aspect of where you're able to see the strengths of everybody. You're able to see everybody's strengths and everybody's weaknesses, irrespective of their IQ level, and being able to tap into their strengths at their levels. You understand? Yeah, that, I think that's where the superpower is. Yeah, being able to tap into everybody's strengths. Yeah. Thank you for that, Agwitz. Yeah. And so for Lucas, I want us to shift a bit, and I want to ask you a different kind of question. Yeah, so there's somebody who said that IQ gets you hired, and it's actually related to what we've just talked about. IQ gets you hired, that's the technical competence, but EQ can actually get you fired. Yeah, and this is something for me also I saw repeatedly in workspace. So maybe just talk about that. Yeah, you can talk about that. I think after Lucas is done, Marsha, you'll give me some questions from the chat. Yes, Lucas? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Lucas.
thanks, Pauline. In fact, I was just, before I even answer your question, I like what Agwin saying about being inflexible with the A student, because I have like an example. This guy who was with in primary school and then into secondary school, both class 8 and form 4, he was those kids you see in the newspapers, lifted shoulder high by their headmaster and their parents. Yeah. Do you know about 6 years ago, we buried him?
Oh.
He went, he got into work, got laid off. He could not recover. He drove himself to the grave. He was A in everything. So I like what Agrian said. He couldn't bend. He couldn't bend.
Adaptability.
He just couldn't bend. So that's like So thanks for sharing that. About EQ and gets you hired, and IQ gets you hired and EQ gets you fired. Allow me to use an example. Before I got into coaching, I was running an event business for 20 years. And I got to a point where I have all this bunch of Gen Zs who I've hired, because the event business requires a lot of manpower. You're setting up big tents, you're having trucks and all of that. So I needed like an operations guy. So I got this guy. He came, I even used a HR friend to do the interview for me. And he ticked all the boxes. You know, he could talk to these guys. He could come up with the work streams and all those things. He could schedule the jobs, who goes where, to set up, to set down. I'm like, this is our guy. But let me tell you, less than a year in, I was struggling with him because the team of these guys were always clashing with this guy as their boss. Yeah. So I'm wondering, but you're doing everything correctly. Why aren't these guys not feeling you? Then someone told me, why don't you hire someone else? So I kept him as the operations guy. And then I thought, let me get a GM. So I got this lady. And she was much less educated than this guy, probably much less exposed. But let me tell you, she would come. So in the morning, would have Monday meetings. Monday morning would have meetings at the warehouse. Guys, and being Gen Zs, half of these guys came with hangovers. You can just see, yeah. And so she just started talking to them. Why are you coming? Why are you drinking so much? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And for some reason, they started sharing with her. This guy has been dumped by his wife, or his chick has gone away, or whatever, or he has a sick parent. Shortly, she's changed the whole going off schedule. This one will go for 2 days. I'll come sometime. I haven't seen so and so for a week. No, he has a personal thing. He went, but his colleague, I agreed to sit in for him. And all of a sudden, she was doing all these odd things. For example, when it's Christmas, she won't give these guys who have a drinking problem the check. She'll ask for their wives' contacts and send the bale of unga to their house. Some very weird things. But let me tell you, we all fell in love with her. She became like the glue. In fact, at some point, for the first time in my business, I started feeling like I can be replaced. And I was thinking I'm the guy who cannot be replaced. So just in that example, so my guy had IQ, ticked all the boxes, but this lady had EQ. So all of a sudden, guys got more responsible, even more honest. You're having a guy saying, to me, I'm mbili, lakini change ndio hii ya 100. It was unheard of before. So I just like giving examples of real life situations that show what you've just said. So as you said in that statement, Pauline, our guy got fired for lack of EQ. But the lady remained. Actually, he wasn't fired. He just saw himself out of the job. No one even fired him. He just said, "What So yeah. So that's a comparison I can give, and I hope it makes sense.
It does. So with that scenario of yours, of where the lady who had EQ, you can either say emotionally intelligence. It's either EI or EQ. I'm sure some people are wondering why we are using them interchangeably. So it can be either EI or EQ. So that scenario described, actually what that lady did is that she saw everybody. You see what we were talking about, having the ability to see everybody with their challenges and working around their challenges to ensure that everybody is succeeding in their area. And even though the ones who now have a drinking problem, you help them to help themselves. So she was even sending the check to the wife. Can you see? So this is somebody who has understood their team. And once you create that kind of environment, what happens is that you will find work performance just starts shooting up. I'm sure, Lucas, you didn't have to remind people to come to work because they enjoyed coming to work. Because they were appreciated. There was no stress. Occupational work stress goes down immediately. Resilience, that ability, even if you have a big event, that people have to work overnight, they'll work overnight because they know this boss of ours sees us. They will actually give us some days off later, isn't it? There's some bosses, you'll give them that extra time, but they'll do nothing for you. So they know this one, at least she's safe. She'll give us time off after we're done with it. So that resilience of going and pursuing those long-term objectives until you achieve them, it actually ends up happening in the team because you have a leader with emotional intelligence, a leader who's able to tap into everybody's strengths and bring them together. And then what happens in the end? What you have, it was staff engagement. People now become engaged.
Absolutely.
And I keep telling
you. In fact,
you can go ahead, Lucas.
No, sorry, Pauline. In fact, I was just going to give one example. So we used to have very late night jobs. At times, work through the night up to morning. So my high IQ guy would finish a site somewhere at 2 a.m., give everybody bus fare 200 bob to go home. The 200 bob is not the problem. Why are you getting a mat at 2:30 in the morning? You know? So me, I wouldn't know those things. At midnight, okay, you guys finish up, I've gone home and I've slept. In the morning, guys come, some are moody, some don't show up. So this lady, all of a sudden, she came, and do you know what I found out? She would quote for a job, and in the transport section, add the price of a cab. Can you imagine?
That's it.
So if all of you work till 3 a.m., I will get you guys a cab to go home. I'm like, man, me, I have a master's, by the way, from USIU. I've never thought that deeply. So I felt very challenged, you know? And
She's
so
humane.
yeah, so examples on emotional intelligence and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the beauty of taking your employees to the level where they engage. Do you know what happens in the end? There's something, and which a lot of employers and a lot of leaders don't know. The point when your employees get engaged is something that you are able to unlock in your employees. There's something called discretionary effort. And you will never enjoy discretionary effort until you engage your employees. So when you engage your employees now your employees, Lucas, there's a point where they could work until midnight without asking for overtime, without asking even for how are we going home, because they know that you're going to take care of them. You understand? So those extra hours, that's the discretionary effort. Yeah, which now you tend to now enjoy if you are good to people. Are we together? You will not enjoy discretionary effort. Yeah. If you're not good to people, they will tell you, by the way, I work till 6 p.m. The rest is overtime. You have to pay me. But for you to unlock discretionary effort, you have to engage your employees. Are we together? So that's the beauty of now being human. Yeah. Having emotional intelligence. Yeah. That is what you get to unlock.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Masha, are there any comments from on the chat or Dorcas?
We don't have any questions yet. I can just see one comment from our panelist here, Lucas, saying we have transitional intelligence. I think he can tell us what that is. And then I see one from Violet also saying that there is adversity quotient, AO.
Yes.
Other than that, we don't have any other questions. Oh, there's one from Hilda here. How can a leader help the leaders under him or her develop EQ?
Okay. So we're about to get into that, of how to develop your emotional intelligence. Yeah, so we're going to handle that. Yeah, AQ, I think Derek already talked about it. Yeah, as part of the LQ. Yeah, where it's a combination of SQ as well as AQ. That adversity, your ability to stick at something to the very end until you achieve your objectives. Yeah, okay, so we can continue. Thank you. So just keep your questions and comments coming in. Okay, so I want us now to just go deeper so that our audience can now understand what emotional intelligence truly entails. Yeah, because I want us to talk about the components of emotional intelligence so that we can go deeper. But also, as you explain the various components, I would want us to talk about their present state and when they are not present. Yeah. So how it looks like. Yeah. So I'll ask Derek to start us off with the first two competencies, which is self-awareness and awareness of others. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, self-awareness, I think, is the gateway to emotional intelligence. And what it is just being able to recognize what you are feeling at any given time, even in the heat of the moment, and then be able to examine that feeling, perhaps regulate it, manage it, use it in a way that is going to help you and help your teams. So it's about being able to name that emotion and name it very specifically. Specific is terrific. Even an emotion like anger, for example, has very many different components. So the more that you are able to name a particular emotion, then you're able to deal with it in an effective way. And by the way, once you are able to do this, you begin to sort of develop some kind of ability to then manage those particular emotions, because you know that perhaps a particular situation is going to put me there, or a particular event, or someone, the way they speak, or every time I walk into the kitchen, I know I'm going to find this. And then you know that that is going to trigger that particular emotion, which you're already aware of, that self-awareness. And then you're able to then deal with it in an effective way. It's like a SWOT analysis. It's knowing your strengths, it's knowing your weaknesses. I know, for example, every time I'm on the road, matatu ikija hivi, I know it's going to trigger me. So, as you can imagine, I can't get rid of every matatu in Kenya. But what I can do is I know that when the matatu jumps the light and I start feeling triggered, and by the way, my response before used to be to chase that matatu.
Oh.
And it's going into work or going to work with my client, nafuata matatu, and then drive up to them and start yelling at the driver. By the way, matatu kwa nyuma imeandika rude boys for life. So that's their philosophy. For them, that's how they live their life. It was a losing battle. But now I know that it's going to trigger me. That's my self-awareness. And I am armed. I'm prepared. In fact, I empathize with that matatu driver. I say, that guy doesn't have a license from a recognized driving school. That's why he drives that thing like a maniac. Or he has to give all his money to his boss. So I sort of reframe that particular story. So self-awareness, just to repeat, is about being able to recognize those emotions, name them, and then obviously to examine why you're feeling them. Was that the only one you gave me? Sorry, Pauline, I feel like you gave me another one. Was it self-awareness?
Awareness of others.
Awareness of others. Okay. Now, awareness of others. That's just being able to look at somebody in your office and say, Uyu leo, I can see the way that they are sitting. There's something going on. It's about having that empathy, being an empathetic leader, being able to recognize the way somebody speaks, the tone of their voice, their body language, their micro gestures, that there is something going on. And perhaps I can, read that unspoken concern, or I can sense that there is something going on, even if I ask them and they say, I'm fine. The empathetic bosses are the ones who are winning in this post-pandemic world that we're living in. The empathetic leader. Those are the ones who are going to rise to the top of the organizations or lead their organizations through this VUCA world that Lucas was talking about. By the way, that sort of, sorry, it inspires loyalty, it inspires trust, that discretionary effort that you are talking about, because your team leader has your back. So
yes, gives them confidence. That they can speak up with confidence because they know you will take care. You'll take care of them. And so for self-awareness, when you want to know that somebody has self-awareness, you will know that they are aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. So they are seen to be present. But when somebody is not self-aware, you will always find that they will always be disconnected. They're actually not aware of themselves, who they think they are. Have you ever met such people? Who they think they are is not what the world sees them as. Do you understand? So there's a dissonance between who you think you are and what the world thinks you are. So there's a challenge. And then also for awareness of other people. If you want to tell that somebody actually is aware of other people, is what Derek has said. You find they're very empathetic. So you're able to put yourself in other people's shoes and you're able to feel the way they would feel or the way they feel. So you're seen to be empathetic. But when you don't have it, you will come off as being insensitive. So that's the present as well as the absent states. I saw a comment on talking about authenticity. So that authenticity now comes up when you're self-aware. And self-aware is where now you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses and you're okay with your weaknesses. A lot of us are very uncomfortable with our weaknesses. I hope, and everyone on this call just know that there's no perfect person. Everybody has strengths and everybody has weaknesses. So I always tell people, know where your weaknesses are and just embrace them. And just know that's my weakness. You understand? Yeah? And embrace them, because even those other people who are watching you with your weakness, they have theirs. So that's now you being authentic, yeah, being living your true self. You're not faking it, yeah, because faking in life is very hard. Yeah, you can imagine you're trying to be something that you're not. You'll always slip up. Yeah, so being authentic is just appreciating who you truly are and expressing yourself the best way you can. Yeah, that's authenticity. But anyway, we are coming to it. So Agwins is next. And Agwins, I would want you to talk about the next two two competencies of emotional intelligence, and that's authenticity and emotional reasoning.
So great stuff. So allow me to start with the emotional reasoning, whereby we are integrating emotions and logic. Let me do that again. Integrating logic and emotions. And many times when you're in the negative state, it's limiting. However, when you move to the other side, which is a productive state, it becomes expansive. And why do I say that? It's because as a leader or any person, you have to make decisions. And if you're aware of what emotions you're experiencing internally, first and foremost, and those around you, then you integrate that to make a great or greater decisions, because then you're trying to move from a point of uncomfort to a point of comfort, but the sense whereby all of you are on board with your emotions. And a good example is that are we reacting or are we responding? And this is a good question, because many times as leaders, our job is saying, how are we feeling now? And how does that get us to the next stage? In other words, we're trying to get our production up, or we're trying to reduce a level of complaints. The question is that, do we react to a customer complaint in negativity, or do we make progress for the client and not ourselves? Because if that's the case, then you're able to get the client happy, but most importantly, you drive at retaining your value system as organization and as individual. So you should always try to be on the positive side, whereby you're expanding your thinking, whereby the logic makes sense for all of you based on a value system that you hold internally and as an organization. The second one was the issue of authenticity. This question is that, do you know who you are first and foremost? And why do I bring that? Because many times emotions are driven by personalities or personality types. And if you're yellow or red or whatever color you are, if I show up as my true self, if I know who I am, then I'm able to self-manage, I'm able to self-regulate. Because then, if I know I'm a positive, lack of a better word, rough, dominant individual, do I show up like that to my colleagues to drive them forward? Because then authenticity means that you shout and box somebody, or probably run over you block the matatu and get into a boxing fight with the driver. Because then at the end of the day, you're not as emotional intelligence. The job is then I make progress by not showing that emotion or that trigger. So you know what triggers that bad behavior in you, so you self-regulate. So authenticity is then you tell your people know who you are, but then you show up to make progress. And that is where as a leader, being authentic is reality, whereby you say, I feel bad about this situation. And the people see your vulnerability as a leader, can then you're able to then move them forward. Because then I feel bad, and you voice it, I feel bad about this. So that's the level you need to get to as an authentic leader, being able to say, I'm sorry. Even when you know internally it's been very difficult, but then to say, I'm generally sorry, to drive people forward. And that becomes an important way how you communicate, because then if you know who you are, then you communicate in the best possible way to drive a great outcome. So empathy, drives communication, and being able to know your value system and being able to know who you are then helps you then to manage and respond to every emotion that you feel and experience at every given point in time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You've put it so well. So just to add on to emotional reasoning, and just to make it more, just to give it an analogy that people can easily remember. So for people who are expansive in nature, yeah. So if you're leading a team, yeah. So if you're seen to be the kind of leader who seeks out other people's different views, yeah, and you take time to listen to them, but you're also very important, other than asking for them, you're seen to be incorporating their views in the overall decision that you make going forward. Then you're an expansive leader. Are we together? Yeah, so you're somebody who's actually reasoning, who has emotional reasoning. Yeah, so for you, you seek out other people's views and you incorporate them. The alternate, the person who doesn't have that is the one who says, this is my way. You either take it or the highway. You understand? So those are the two contrasts. So the thing is, we need to aspire to be those leaders who are seen to be flexible, to be adjustable, in all circumstances, irrespective of the feedback that you get. Even if you already had your game plan, there's a way you can be able to incorporate the new views. I don't know if Agwins have summarized it well for you. Okay, cool. Fantastic.
Very well. Thanks. Very well, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So Derek, now for you. Yeah.
Lucas.
Oh, is it Lucas? Oh, yes, sorry. Lucas, thank you. So
we look alike.
Yes.
We look alike. Yeah.
No, I was actually moving on. As if I'm moving to the next.
I'm ready to talk.
Sorry, my brain had moved forward. So the last two competencies, sorry. So Lucas, I would like you to talk about self-management and positive influence.
Yeah, thanks, Pauline. I think self-management just as self-descriptive, about managing our moods, our emotions, our time, keeping time, the behavior we display, and self-improvement. That's just self-management. If I'm told to even shorten it, I can say just have good manners, like self-management. And when we're in a productive state of self-management, we're resilient. In fact, it's funny, my dad passed on 4 years ago, and I hadn't come across emotional intelligence. But I remember I had booked, or rather I had been asked to speak at a morning show at NTV. Yeah. And I remember it was the morning after his funeral, And so that the 2-3 days before, you get into a call like this to align, come at this time, do what. And I had all the reason to say, hey guys, sorry, I drop off. But I actually woke up and did that interview at 7 a.m. the morning after Mze's burial. So when I look back, I was like, okay, maybe that was self-management. I chose to be resilient and do that. And maybe it was a part of me that was asking, what would Mze have required me, would have wanted me to do? Just an example. But then the opposite of that, the unproductive state, especially in the workplace, is things like people don't keep time, or rather you don't keep time. You don't respond well to criticism from others, even if it's positive. You can't control yourself. You've heard of office parties. The guy who gets boozed and goes and falls in love with his boss and declares undying love on Friday. And then in Naivasha, when they go back on Monday, he can't show up because of shame. All that is self-management, Or you blow your cool, so you're temperamental. So that's what I would say about self-management.
Yes.
Positive influence is just how we make others feel, really, through problem solving and then how we give people feedback. Feedback is good, but I think a lot of feedback falls through the cracks, Pauline, you'll agree with me, because of how it's given. If part of that thing is not so many times what you say, but how you say it, Yeah, like the two magic words of Derek of saying thank you. I can come and say, si asante bas or si sorry bas. Now is that,
Yeah.
You've said sorry, but you've not said sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we support others with their work, and recognizing what they're doing? Positive influence. Like you're just those people who would say when they enter a room, people feel uplifted. To me, that's positive influence, really. Yeah. And the productive state of that is then it's automatically empowering. People want to do things for you. People want to do things with you because they feel like you elevate them, like you lift them up to another level. You empower them. And the downside of that, as well as a leader, is that you're indifferent. Maybe even those who decide without any motivation to still give the discretionary effort you're talking about. But to me, I'm like, hey, boss, do you realize I left at 10 p.m. working on that report just to make sure it's cleaned up? Like, okay, then I respond something like, but that's your job, you see, so I'm indifferent. I should have recognized, hey, by the way, well done. Other guys went home at 6, you stay till 10. In fact, today you can leave at 2 p.m. after the presentation, So you can be indifferent or empowering. I'm reading a book, if you'll allow me, Pauline. It's called Influence is Your Superpower. Yeah. And currently by this guy called Zoe Chance. And it says here that it talks about being pushy versus being influential. At times you can confuse the two. And says being influenced requires being influenceable. Have you heard of that? Like, I need to be influenceable, to be influential. Yes. And making people say no, making people comfortable saying no makes them inclined to say yes. Think about that. So making people comfortable to say no, if you make me really comfortable to say no, makes me want to say yes to what you want, And that's influence. That's positive influence, whereby you get what you want without compromising who you are. Yeah. So I think that's what I'll give as a summary for positive influence and for self-management.
Yeah. Thank you. So guys, those are the 6 key competencies of emotional intelligence. Yeah, so self-awareness. So if you become self-aware, you become aware of others. And then once you become aware of other people, you become more authentic. And then once you become more authentic, you start reasoning with your emotions, emotional reasoning. And then now you learn how to manage yourself better. And then the last one is you become a positive influence everywhere you are. So those are the key competencies of emotional intelligence. So Dorcas, maybe you can bring Agwitz back in the focus, because he has disappeared in the crowd. Yeah. So there's one other thing I wanted to talk about with Derek. Yeah, before we close. Yeah, I want to ask just one more round of questions for all of panelists. And I want to ask Derek about the power of the pause. I think you've seen how it's important when we talk about emotional intelligence, yeah? So how does the pause come in handy, especially when we're managing our emotions? And how can we use it better to manage our lives? Give our audience a tip of how to use the pause better.
I love this question, Pauline. The pause is the micro tool that we need in emotional intelligence between the stimulus, the event, the customer annoying us, the direct report who won't listen to us, and the response. That pause is your choice. Therein lies that choice. So practically speaking, how does that work? Well, in conflict, pause before replying. You stop what is called that amygdala hijack without getting too technical. And it shifts your reaction from defensive to, shall we say, thoughtful. Don't instantly react to that situation or what somebody says. Take a little bit of a second, pause, and then you can give perhaps a more measured or thoughtful response. In meetings, as leaders, don't rush in and feel that you have to give your opinion. That pause makes other people feel valued, as I talked about before. People want validation, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and they should be used in that proportion. So it's really about just sort of regulating these strong emotions that we feel: frustration, anger, being triggered, and really improves the decision-making as leaders. Leaders are remembered less for what they said quickly, and more for what they said wisely. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Fantastic. I can't add anything more. Yeah, so guys, the power of the pause. Yeah, so before you respond, yeah, you pause before you respond. Yeah, so that you don't regret it. I'm sure there are times, you have said something and you wish you could take it back. Yeah, so let's utilize the pause. Yeah, and I'll also tell you, as you start this journey, that pause is going to be almost physically painful. It will be actually almost physically painful because it's physical restraint. You actually feel you're restraining yourself. You want to speak, but you can't. But let me tell you, when you conquer it, you will never be controlled by the world. You understand? That's when now you've gained mastery of self. That's when you've gained mastery of self. Yeah, when you can, when the world stops controlling you. Yeah, so that's where we aspire to get to, all of us. But I know the other thing is you also have to become aware of your triggers, because just like Derek said, the matatu used to be his trigger, but now he has learned how to manage it. So let's use the pause wisely. So Agwit, over to you. So for people who are struggling to hold down jobs, yeah, because they have not learned the pause, they have not learned when to keep quiet. That I have seen with many people in the workspace. They just talk, and then they talk themselves out of jobs. You understand? Yeah. So people who are struggling to hold down jobs, hold down relationships, because even relationships can be concluded with just one SMS sent at the wrong time, yeah, with the wrong words, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so how can they start building that the emotional intelligence, yeah, so that they can have more enriching relationships, they can have good careers, yeah.
So I have an analogy which I call STAR, and in the context of this discussion is what the S stands for stop. Stop.
Breaking. Agwins, maybe remove your
the T.
Agwins. We can't hear you.
And then the A stands for act. And last, sorry.
I think
Agwins,
even your message to him is delaying, Pauline. Try and reach him on
Okay,
chat.
can you hear me now?
No.
Okay.
Just remove the video.
Okay, let me move my this. Okay, can you hear me now?
Have you removed your video?
1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you there?
I think we've lost him.
Okay. So, Derek, you want to try it as we wait for him? How can somebody nurture their emotional intelligence? Yeah, so that they can be better colleagues and better human beings going forward. How do you grow your emotional intelligence? Yes. You, Derek.
How do you nurture that emotional intelligence?
Yes.
Listen, I have a formula that I use with some of my clients. I call it the CASH formula. K is for knowledge. Equip yourself with this knowledge. Attend webinars like this. Ask Pauline for more. And each of these competencies that we talked about, by the way, are whole webinars by themselves. You can do an entire one on self-awareness, one just on awareness of others. I hear somebody speaking. Is he coming back? Was it just me?
Muted. Yes, I had something.
I thought I heard it. So equip yourself with that knowledge, change the algorithm on your social media scroll so that these are the things that come up. Then the
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Agwins, Derek was answering. Let him finish, then I come back to you. You can hear me, Agwins?
I
It's
think maybe
disappeared.
I'll keep
Yeah.
talking. The A
Yes.
is for attitude. It's reframing that story. Just like I said, I've reframed the story about the matatus on the road. Reframe the story that you tell about that direct report who doesn't listen to you. Reframe the story about that customer who you have to chase because they're not paying. And when you reframe that story, then you see things from a different point of view. And that, to me, is emotional intelligence. That is the emotional reasoning that Arguins was talking about earlier. The S is for skills. This is a skill that you can turn into real influence. You can really take this skill, these competencies, as we've broken them down, and you can really hone in on them, and you can become truly the empathetic leader, the authentic leader, the inspirational leader. And that separates you from everybody else. And like any skill, you need to practice it. You need to work on it. Every day is an opportunity for you to showcase these authentic emotional intelligence skills. And then it becomes a H, which is a habit. It's a discipline habit. That habit of self-awareness for me is automatic. I am constantly asking myself at any given time, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What has happened for me to feel this way? How do I want to feel? What do I need to do to get there? It's not something that I have to necessarily think about. It's almost instinctive, but it's become hopefully a success work habit. So for me, that to me is one of the ways that you can begin to nurture this valuable skill of emotional intelligence.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Agwins. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that network blip. So, for me, probably just to sum it up is what I was saying, using the star analogy, and emotional intelligence allows you to take that deep stop or pause for every situation, and allows you then to reflect, whereby the T stands for think about the situation that you're in, and upon reflection, you take the action, which is the A. But most importantly, after getting all this emotional situations and being able to see where you are and what circumstance you're feeling, is to make or take a resolve or take a resolution. So stop, think, act, but then make sure you're making progress. So you're resolving that situation. So that means that with every emotional response that you take, you're making better decisions to arrive at a point of strategic destiny for yourself, first of all, as an individual, and lastly for the organization, because the organizations are made by human beings and they are living out of your personal experience within that organization. So work on yourself and the rest becomes easier to do. So wish you the very best. Yes.
Thank you. Yes. The work starts with self. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen with emotional intelligence, you first work on yourself. Yeah. You can't be a good leader if you cannot lead yourself. Yeah. So leadership starts with self. Thank you, guys. So you have two tools to use, guys. There's cash and there's star. Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for those good tips. And then I'll just summarize with Lucas, who will tell us what are the overall advantages of having emotional intelligence. Why do we have to do all these things? Yeah, we've been talking for over 1.5 hours. Why? What are the advantages of having emotional intelligence? In conclusion.
My emotional intelligence right now is telling me to also have an acronym like Derek and Agwins, and I have none. So next time I'll be sharp. I'll think on my feet and also come up with one. Hata mimi. But anyway, I think for the time I have interacted with emotional intelligence consciously, I feel like having it is like a hack. You know how you have a hack to something, like you hear what is said over what you hear what is not said over what is said. you see more than is in eyesight, and so that helps you communicate better, because it's like you have more information coming to you compared to those around you who may not have this EI. Of course, be with that capacity then, because you've grown it, you develop stronger relationships. For example, we used words like empathetic, so when I'm authentic, but still not saying I'm authentic, I don't care what you think, this is what I think. No, I can be authentic as Lucas, but then I'm also aware of you. So I accommodate that view, so people feel, okay, we're not agreeing, but we can still accommodate one another. And then you also enhance self-awareness. That's one thing that so many of us don't have. We think we know ourselves, but such a big chunk of us we do not know. And we portray that ignorance, if I may say arrogance, those around us, we're not even aware of it, and then I'm wondering, why isn't arguing understanding me? But I'm not self-aware of the sabotage, of the saboteurs I'm having, and now I'm sabotaging myself and our relationship. So emotional intelligence helps you become more aware. And then we live in this stressful world. I mean, stress management, I just gave my example on being resilient. Things will not always go as we want them to. In fact, sometimes things tend to conspire to go the different direction from where we want them to. So emotional intelligence shows us that it's not the end of the world. We can still work through this and not be temperamental and be in all those in different stages and all those unproductive states that we spoke about. And then this also leads to better conflict resolution. So I'll go on and on and on. But I think, in summary, emotional intelligence to me helps me live a better life, because I get to know Lucas more, and I get to give more grace to those Lucas interacts with, whether professionally or personally. And that kind of just increases the peace and decreases the friction.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for those and great parting shot of why we all have to develop our emotional intelligence. So it's not a nice to have, guys. It's actually a key pillar, for our life, how we run our life, how we parent, how we are good friends, and how we do life generally, and even how we'll grow in our careers. So thank you very much for that, Lucas. And so I just want to ask each one of our panelists to just give us their parting shot, as we conclude, and then we'll take maybe one or two questions, and then we finish off. Okay, Derek, can go first.
The great philosopher Aristotle said, anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry at the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, in the right environment, that is not easy. Why do I talk about anger? Because for me, anger is one of those emotions that if you can control, it can truly transform. Leadership today isn't just about managing tasks. It's about managing people. And to me, using an example like anger, which is an emotion, EI is a superpower. It turns managers, I think, into true leaders. And by the way, you don't need to start big. Start by practicing self-awareness. By asking an extra question just to understand somebody better. And over time, these small steps will transform how you lead.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, and I guess anger is the true test of if you have emotional intelligence or not. Yeah? Yes. Thank you. Thank you for those wise words. Thank you. Lucas, you can go.
Yeah, thanks, Pauline. I think to me, EI is like life is an exam, yeah? So EI to me is like leakage to that exam. I was a deep C student. I was a terribly average student, I'm those guys, even with the leakage for the exam, I'll still get a C. I was those guys. And so for me, having EI is like leakage for the exam of life. It almost helps you live life on the offense and the defense, because you are aware of what is inside you and what is around you. There are less surprises. Living life on the offense. So emotional intelligence to me, that's how I see it. It's like I have this hack or this leakage to this exam that nobody else has, and I'm really now moving towards the A. That's what I would like. That's what I would liken it to.
Fantastic. You're done?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Lucas. Yes, it gives you an edge in life. Yeah, so emotional intelligence can actually give you the front seat, even if you're not meant to be at the front. Yeah, because you understood people and people have understood you. Fantastic. Thank you. Agwins,
Yeah.
your parting shot.
So yeah, so allow me to, sorry. So my parting shot is that structure brings freedom. And from emotional intelligence perspective, you only get structured if you know how to respond and not to react to the situation or circumstances. And in life, you're the sum total of the decisions you make on a daily basis. So where you are today is driven majorly by how you responded to the circumstances that you have on that particular day. So emotional intelligence allows you to be responsive rather than being reactive. So if you're able to adopt that, you become more of yourself and you become a better citizen and a better colleague, and you have a high performance culture within yourself and the organization. So pick it up and drive it up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I'll say, yeah, the key fundamental block of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So the more self-aware you become of yourself, the more aware you become of others. You understand? The more you become more aware of your own weaknesses, the more empathetic you become of others. You know, you cannot build empathy until you've built empathy with self. Yeah, the day you know that you're not good at one thing, yeah, you become more kinder to yourself. So you cannot be kind to other people and their weaknesses until you are being kind to yourself. Are we together? So build that self-awareness first. Then when you build that self-awareness, it will automatically lead to you becoming more empathetic about others' weaknesses. So the more you build yourself, the more you become more empathetic of other people. Yeah. And that is where you're able to build your emotional intelligence. So that's my parting shot, guys. So the more you do work on yourself, the better you become to everyone else in the world. And that is why if you can go to our website, we have numerous programs. Even Leading with Emotional Intelligence is a whole program, yeah, that runs, we have about 6 modules on it. Yeah, so this is just a teaser and a taster for you guys, yeah, to know that there's so much that you need to learn around how to manage yourself. And by the way, there's no point where you'll say, now I've known myself. It is a lifelong journey. So never stop learning about yourself because you're a maze. It's a whole maze. Yeah, and new things, the more you keep opening, new things keep popping up, yeah, about yourself. Yeah, so just keep learning, and the more you get to know about yourself, yeah, the more tolerable you become with others in the world. Okay, so thank you very much. So self-awareness is the cornerstone of emotional intelligence, and everybody can learn emotional intelligence. Yeah, everybody can learn emotional intelligence, and so you can be that A student. Yeah, all of us have the potential to be that A student in life, not in IQ, in life. Thank you. Masha, Dorcas, maybe any comments or questions from the chat we will appreciate before we close. Masha, any questions, Dorcas?
Yes, there have been a couple of questions. After Hilda's question, we had a comment from Celestine that example for transport is so spot on, thought-provoking. Yvonne had a question, and I feel it still got answered. How can you tell you are emotionally intelligent? And as you think about that, I'll ask 2 more questions and then they can be answered. Gladys had a question. How do you apply the impact of the iceberg model in trying to achieve EQ? A comment from Nyawera. I think that they may I think there may be a generalization we are making. There are many balanced A students who develop social skills and emotional intelligence. How about we focus on what emotional intelligence is, not on profile, those who may have intellectual gifting. The two can coexist. And then a question or a comment from Rose. Please speak about authenticity in EQ. And then a final question from Mercy. What do you do when the leader is the one who lacks the EQ?
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to first answer Nyawera's question. So that was it was, remember, as I said, it is a controversial topic, but actually books and research has actually proven that. Yeah, so there are certain books that have also been written on the same phenomenon. Yeah, so it's not that we are profiling, but it's something, it's a research that has been done, and they have seen as a great percentage of people with IQ struggle with EQ. So it's to create their awareness. It's not that we have said that all of them lack it. Yeah, so it's just, I was referring to a specific research, and I know that there's a certain specific book. If you look for it, you will find that has been written on the same research. Okay, so I think the aspect of knowing who is emotionally intelligent, I think we went through it in detail. We give you 6 parameters of what are the key components of emotional intelligence. Yeah, and we also talked about their present and when they're not present, how it looks like. Yeah, so I think the key thing is to just aspire to work on those six key components. Yeah, that will help you come off as more emotionally intelligent. And just maybe to reiterate them for those who didn't get them, it is self-awareness, awareness, you becoming aware of other people, how to be more authentic, how to be emotionally reason with the data and emotions that you find and feedback that you get. And then also there's self-management, how you manage yourself, and then how you inspire others to perform. Yeah, so those are the key components of emotional intelligence. I think there's one other question. The others were comments. Dorcas, there's one other question. Yes, Derek, you can answer. And Ada,
So
you.
I heard the last question,
Oh,
which was,
fantastic.
what do you do when your boss is not
Yes.
emotionally intelligent? Let me give you an answer. I'm not sure who asked that question. I was trying to look in the chat. I couldn't see.
Yes.
So I'm not sure it is, because I really
Mercy.
want...
Mercy.
Mercy, let me tell you something. You might not even like the answer I'm going to give you. It is your fault that your boss is not emotionally intelligent. Okay, I'm not saying that that's your situation, but if you were in that situation where, ay, bona, undosi, he lacks EQ or he has no emotional intelligence, everything is your fault. Extreme ownership, in the words of Jocko Willink. And what do I mean by that? It means I have the ability, using my own emotional intelligence, to take whatever situation I'm in, a boss who is unfair, a team member who is always backbiting me, a direct report who never listens to me. How many times have I told you, do this, and they never do it? And I can take that emotion that I feel being in that situation and then manage my own emotions so that I am taking the power back. Nobody can make me feel that way. I could do that, or I could fire the entire company and say, you guys are useless, get out of here. That's not how the real world works. So I take a situation where I'm dealing with an individual, a boss who has no emotional intelligence, a girlfriend who is just out of this world, a hubby who lacks EQ, and I take how they make me feel. They make me feel angry. They make me feel depressed. They make me feel unmotivated. They make me fill in the blank. They make you feel a certain way. And then my own EQ kicks in and I say, okay, now what do I do to manage feeling depressed or hurt or angry or these strong emotions that we feel that is being evoked by that person or by that situation? That is how you manage these difficult situations. Because at the end of the day, and again, I can give you examples of people who have been in those situations, and it actually turns out there was something small that they needed to do in order for that boss to just change the way that they talked to them, the tone of voice. Huyu jamaa vile ananiongelesha. Small things like that. And it was something small. Like I said, it could have been a thank you. It could have been greeting this guy on a Monday morning. It could have been bringing him a samosa from the tea room. Small things. I can't legislate for every case. But that sort of my advice to you is don't worry about that person. You worry about managing how that person makes you feel, and you will live a much better life.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that answer, Derek. I've actually remembered the book. It's actually called Why A Students Work for C Students. Yeah, it's by Robert Kiyosaki. Look for it. Yeah, so the book exists. Okay, so I think if there's no other question, I think we'll stop it here because our time is up. So if you have any questions, you can, or comments or any topics that you'd like us to address for you before we finish the gift at 50, please write them in the chat before you leave. Yeah, but we're very grateful that you came and you engaged with us. We want to say a big thank you to our man panel. I think they've done fantastically well. So let's give them a hand clap. Yeah, show them some love, guys. You have done extremely well. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you guys, and I will definitely call you back. Yeah, I will definitely call each one of you back. Yeah, maybe we need to do another one on emotional intelligence. Yeah, because it's a wide topic. Yeah, so thank you very much. And I think we can tell the audience goodbye. Panelists, you can stay behind for a few minutes, and then we can conclude. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us. All the best. Good
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, audience. Agwits, don't leave yet.
Thanks.
I'm here. I'm here.
Ayako. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. I can see you don't want to leave. We will have another one next month. We have a different topic. More exciting, another exciting topic.
Thanks for joining, guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
We've seen you, Dr. Mbide. We've seen you, Violet.
I can even see Angelica here. Fantastic. Nice to see you after many years. Karibu. Thank you, everybody. We've finished. You can log off. Bye-bye. Thank you. So these are familiar faces that I see online. So people are consistent.
I'm just putting them in the waiting room.
Oh, you're done putting them, eh? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That. I thought they were coming back. Okay. Thank you.
You know, sometimes people are multitasking.
Stop the YouTube. Two more.